I've been here in Taipei for a little over 2 months now at this point, and I've definitely met my fair share of people, whether through just pure serendipity or if a train go by, pure serendipity or dating apps and whatnot or whatever else. And it's been an interesting experience. I feel like I haven't had to, or haven't just met this many people, gone out of my way to try and meet this many people since like freshman year of college. And it's definitely interesting now, being older, hopefully a bit more wiser and more self-knowledgeable and aware. Just meeting these people. Admittedly, it's all over the place. Some people I get on with super well. Others, a little bit more of a mismatch, and that's totally okay too. But it's difficult nonetheless. Because even those who I resonate with, just, the nature of these circumstances, me being here for only a few months, or them being here for a few months, or just even passing through for a short time, means that the time and commitment necessary to cultivate intimacy and close friendship isn't really there. And this only makes me all the more grateful for the close friends I do have in my life. Friends who I'm able to call or text, who give me that sense of normalcy and connection and belonging, even as I'm on the other side of the world and don't know a soul, and at times go entire weeks without speaking to anyone. I'm fortunate enough as well where I've got a couple of close friends who I basically talk to every single week. And just knowing that I get to talk to these two so regularly brings me so much joy and honestly fills up my social battery for the week. And as much as I'm grateful for these two, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a bittersweet taste associated when I reflect on these friendships. Because as close as we are now, and as much as they show up in my lives now, this wasn't always the case. They weren't always the people who I was having these calls with, who were showing up in my life and me in theirs. I suppose the bitter part is acknowledging that in order to create space for these close friendships to emerge in particular, I had to let others go. Because at least from my perspective, I feel like the space of close friendship isn't very big. For good reason, right? Because you're not going around calling every person you meet, every person you hang out with once or twice your close friend. Otherwise, I'd have a handful more of close friends already in these past couple months. Close friendship, it's rare. You can't search for it, it finds you. because you never know who you're going to resonate with. And you also never know who's going to commit to building the intimacy, the friendship with you. You can't have one or the other. You need both. And when you have a close friend, I don't know, I just don't think you can ever imagine letting them go, growing apart, them not being in your life anymore. Right? It's like you already went through all the hoops and hurdles to get to this point. You should be set, right? You should be lifelong friends who are each other's weddings, you know, your bridesmaids, your best man or groomsmen. And I feel like we paint that picture as a society that close friends are like a forever type thing. And it's different than, you know, casual friends or acquaintances, whatever degrees of friendship you want to call it. Because you know those won't last. You might not want to say it out loud, you don't tell them to their face, but you know. Something just feels off. Values, characters, life perspectives, maybe a splash of everything. But you don't say it because you know it won't last. It's the friends who you play sports with. Maybe you're in the same club or extracurricular in college. You are on the same floor or lived in the same neighborhood. That was enough to bring you together and maybe keep you together for a while until one or both of you begins to change. You start to grow, to have experiences that force you to peel back the layers and to discover greater depths of who you really are. And the more you do, the more you grow into this sense of self, the more that's reflected in every area of your life, especially your relationships. Because what do they say? It's like your relationships are a reflection of who you are, especially your close relationships. Oftentimes, it's like staring into your own eyes. That's how close they are. And it's this closeness that you just never see. You never see fading away. It's like one of those movie or show plot lines or storylines you read about on Reddit or something, and you're just like, there's no way that's true. There's no way that happens. That's just how absurd it seems. How improbable it seems. How much you want it to be. Because after all, I don't think any of us are going around being like, I want to lose my close friends. I definitely don't. The hard pill to swallow is that there will come times in life when that's necessary, when it's necessary to let go. So when you grow, when you change, that means that the relationships that you formed at one point in your life aren't going to remain the same, because neither of you remain the same. In some instances, the growth or change may bring you closer, and that's when you think it ends. That's when you think growth ends. Until it doesn't. Until it doesn't. I feel like that's what the past couple years especially have shown me. To stop being so absolute and to stop being or hoping for things to be so certain. Friendships, growth especially. Because so often that growth and the change we experience, it's unpredictable. It happens at different times, different rates. We can never really predict or know when it'll show up until it's literally on our doorstep. And when it arrives, in most cases it forces its way in. It's hard to resist. And the thing is, when you undergo that change, that growth, as you move into that new sense of self, it requires you to clear out the old, the past. Even when it comes to your friendships, your close friends. And so often, we hold on. And I definitely have in the past. We hold on out of loyalty, out of attachment to the past, to what was, but isn't anymore. Who we are now in this moment, who our friends are in this moment in front of us, we take them as who they are, not who they were. And it goes both ways. Friendship is this constant sort of reevaluation, whether you realize it or not. Every time you spend time with somebody, whether you realize it or not, you're performing that evaluation. And sometimes it reveals that you two aren't who you once were. You aren't the friends, the close friends you once were. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Even harder is to not resist this change. Because if you do, if you hold on, if you attach, you're doing yourself and your friend no good. Because when I think about friendship, one of the hallmarks, right, is mutual respect. To want the best for the other, no matter what, regardless of your own interests. you have their best in your heart. And it's loyalty to the friendship that at times, even if it hurts, even if it means breaking up, letting go, that's what's necessary for your own growth and theirs as well. To let go, perhaps that's the greatest act of friendship in the end. It's hard too. I know, I mean, it's easy for me to say this, being on like the other end of this, but to go through it and try to internalize it while you're literally in the midst of it, definitely isn't. When I think about the close friends I have now, I never would have expected them. I never could have planned for them. I never saw it coming. And just like with the close friends I let go of, that storyline I never saw it coming. It's so hard because it takes us this long, this much time, effort, commitment, and patience to build that close friendship. And until you've found another to fill their place as a close friend, that opening as a close friend, it can feel hopeless, or I can't really think of another word. You know what I mean. What I've come to realize in letting go of close friends and on the other side, meeting the close friends I have now, is that it all boils down to your own sense of self. It's always changing, it's always evolving, but ultimately, I'd like to believe it's always moving closer and closer to the truth. And the truer you are to yourself, that reflects outward into all areas of your life, especially your relationships. The people you meet, the close friends you make, you feel freer and truer with them in a way that you didn't necessarily with close friends of the past. And it's difficult to imagine. It's difficult to believe or to feel until they show up on your doorstep. So often unexpected, without your knowing. And it's these experiences that give me all the faith to be able to say that whatever sort of change or growth you're going through right now, at the end of the day, you're putting yourself on a path truer to yourself, on a path that gives the opportunity to cross paths with those close friends truer to you? There's this quote that I came across that I think is pretty poignant. Life changes. You lose love, you lose friends, you lose pieces of yourself that you never imagined would be gone. And then, without you even realizing it, these pieces come back. New love enters, better friends come along, and a stronger, wiser you staring back in the mirror. Those close friends who you're staring at like a mirror.